When I think about the family I grew up in and the house I was in and the way my parents behaved and my siblings, I only make one statement. It's no wonder I'm the way I am. Uh, you are that way too. Your life was perfectly designed for the outcomes you're currently experiencing.
Hmm.
And family baggage is a big part of that. So we're going to talk about how to deal with your family baggage. Fortunately, Jonathan doesn't have any because he was raised by
Mm.
perfect parents. No,
Hmm.
that's a little foreshadowing to no, it's not true. But hey, we want to help you process family baggage because every family, all got children got baggage, John.
All got social baggage. If you can believe it, I almost named, you would have vetoed it anyway, but I almost named the email that. It's just too long.
Yeah.
But yeah, all got baggage, and the family is um, it has potential for great good and great evil. It's
Mm,
like a superhero. The origin story of a superhero. They get their powers, and then normally in a good one, the villain will get their powers around the same time, and
yeah.
you'll get to see the potential for great good and evil. Families are like that. There's so much beauty and so much hurt, and everyone's got family baggage, and we're gonna get into it. I
Yeah.
feel
When
like.
you go ahead.
Well, real quick, you said you alluded to I don't have any family baggage. We don't introduce ourselves on these podcasts. We probably should. I'm John. This is Jim. This is my father, riding son team for the honest path, and we're gonna get into it, so it'll be good.
That's true. We don't introduce ourselves. So sorry for not doing that. The reasons families have baggage is because we're all complicated people with different personalities, and we live in incredibly tight proximity
Hmm.
with shared space, shared resources, shared responsibility, burdens, all that stuff. And I meet people who are 80 who are still reconciling their relationship with their father or mother. So these
Mm.
are lifetime impacts. Ideally, family is the place where your greatest wounds will come, but they're also the place where your greatest healing can come. So for some of us, that'll be the case where we lean into resolving our family baggage as a family or getting healing together.
Mm.
But there are other scenarios where you need your family not to participate in your recovery.
Yeah.
And so all of that can be true. Um,
Well,
yeah.
I'm really excited. You've seen some really beautiful redemption in your own family of origin. From the outside, it seems that way. So I'm excited to hear about that. But let's get into it. We've got our opening today, just a little icebreaker. What is the best or most memorable family vacation you went on as a kid?
Well, the family vacation I still think about, it crosses my mind at 64 years old, is the first family vacation we ever took. We
Mm.
piled six of us into my dad's Chevy Impala, long, skinny Chevy Impala. And I spent a lot of time on the back dashboard laying down on these road trips. We went to Las Vegas, then to Disneyland, then to Mexico down by San Diego to um, what is that on the other side of ten? Starts with a T. Tijuana. We
Tijuana.
went to Tijuana, and my dad's business partner and their kids were on that were on part of that trip, and we're sitting in a gas station in the middle of nowhere, Arizona. Oh, we also did the Grand Canyon and Painted Dunes on that trip. So it was this
Oh,
long trip.
nice.
We had never had a vacation before. And we're sitting at a gas station, and we had to sit side by side in the back seat, four of us squeezed in there. And I feel the wind, the windows are open. I feel the wind blowing on my hair. So I reach up, and it's a bee, and it
Oh,
stung me in the hand. So I remember that. Lots of stories from that vacation, some of them depraved, but it was a great family vacation.
yeah.
What
I
about you?
remember you've told me about that, and I have this image a little under the back window. I just imagine how hot that would be. One, going through
Yeah.
the desert and you've got the sun beating on you, and two, worrying John. I think about if you got in a car accident, I would not have existed. That's a precarious place to be.
Well, kids were tougher in those days, but also I would lay
Not
there.
that tough.
We would drive, late into the night to save money on hotels. We would stop at rest stops and eat bologna and cheese sandwiches. I mean, it was a budget trip.
Yeah.
We were not wealthy yet at that point in my dad's life, and yeah, it was great. John, what's yours?
I think so. Most of them, when I think of a family trip, I think of all the kids together. I've got four siblings, and I'm the youngest. From me to the oldest is about 10 years. And so the whole family, there's not a lot of those, the ones that I remember, because
Yeah.
they would have been when I was really little before the older kids started moving on. So one of the only ones I can think of, and I don't know if they were all there, but it was our trip to South Dakota, and I can't remember why, but we saw Mount Rushmore. I don't know if it was the point to see Mount Rushmore, if that's like why we drove all that way. But we went to South Dakota for Mount Rushmore and Crazy Horse, and my maternal grandparents were there. I remember having some fun conversations with my grandpa. I remember I had an iPod Nano at the time, and I was listening to some Jimi Hendrix, listening to Purple Haze. I was in about middle school, I think. Uh, and it was fun. It was really fun. We stayed in a cabin. It's like camping, but not as rough.
Hmm.
I remember some. This is a pretty. I was older, so more memories. I remember some conversations I had with my sister Bethany, talking about book and story ideas. It was a lot of fun. I don't know why that's the first thing that came to mind. The rest are too dewy in my brain. There's camping trips. I only have one memory where I was worried that our dog was going to run away when we were going on a hike, so I zipped her in our tent, and we came back and she had chewed her way through the tent. Um, Things like that. So that's the only one I have fully formed. And then the ones I have more fond memories of than even that, I would have a hard time calling family vacations because I was older.
Right.
My and your trip to Gettysburg, just the two of us, things like that.
Unstoppable. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
great. The South Dakota trip only had you and Bethany in it. That's why you don't
Dang
remember the
it.
other siblings because they
Okay.
were not there. And it was the two of you, me and mom, and grandma and grandpa. And it was an incredible trip. I remember that one very well as well. A lot of fun.
Good.
All right,
Yeah.
John, walk us through our four quarters. Where are we going today?
Conversation today. We'll first talk about everyone has family baggage. It is unavoidable. We'll break down some of our own and kind of walk through that. Quarter two, does genes plus your home environment equal fate? That's genes with a G. And we would say no, it does not equal fate, but we'll walk through that too. Being your own man is quarter three. And quarter four, your legacy. So those last two I'm really excited about, more about liberty and the means you have to forge your own path.
Yeah. Very good. All right, first quarter, John. Everyone's got family baggage because as I mentioned earlier, you're in close relationship, you're in close proximity, you're in developmental phases of life. So you have parents who start having kids when they're young. Sue and I start popping out kids like a Pez dispenser in our early 20s.
Hmm.
So you don't know much. You're entrusted with these little humans and you don't even know what you're doing. So parents are developing, kids are developing, going through puberty. I mean, it's just fraught with landmines. So it's not surprising that every family has baggage. It's a potential for both good and evil. I'm curious, John, your uh, from the hip assessment,
Hmm.
purely non scientific. Do,
Never.
do you think families in America experience more evil than good or more good than evil
Mm.
in their family systems?
Oh my goodness. That's tough. Tough for a few reasons. We've had a lot of shifts in the American family in the past, 70 years, um, 50 years, whatever. So that's a really interesting question. I would say no. I would say because I
Well,
strive to
no,
be
it's
an
not. It wasn't a
no,
yes or
hold on,
no.
no, I'm still talking. I strive to be an optimist. No, the evil does not outpace the good.
Oh, okay.
I think there's more good than evil by the mere fact, people have they say, I don't know if I want to bring a kid into this crazy world.
Right.
I always think, do you wish you were dead? Like
Right.
you're probably happy to be alive right now in this crazy world.
Yeah.
So I think just the mere fact of giving each other existence is more good than evil because something is greater than nothing. But it's dark, man. It gets really, really dark. What do you think?
Well, let me ask you if you ask the question this way, that makes sense. If you ask it this way, it might feel different. How many people have you met where you would say, I envy their family system over my own?
The two, maybe, not a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So great families, I would say, are rare.
Yes.
Great
That seems
families,
true.
yeah. So I wouldn't call the rest evil, but I would say great families are rare, and that means, and even great families have baggage. So um, let's talk about it, John. I would love to hear you talk about your family baggage before I talk about mine.
Okay. That's an act I don't want to follow either, so I'll go first.
Okay.
Yours is going to be, more exciting than mine probably. Just got back from a family reunion, so this is fresh. This is
Ah,
I just visited you down in Denver
yeah.
with the other siblings. My family baggage is very tame. I've always thought I had a good childhood, and I still would say I had a good childhood. Um, but it's clearer to me than ever that my family does not necessarily care what I have to say.
Mm.
And I realized I don't think it's just me. I don't think any of my siblings care what any of the other one has to say. And
So no
and
sibling cares what any other sibling has to say.
no, and I can't tell. I was thinking about a prophet is not without honor except in his own
Yeah,
hometown.
yeah,
And I think, is that just that familiarity breeds contempt? That anybody, even Christ, was not held in honor in his hometown because they go, isn't this the carpenter's son?
right.
So with your own family, you've all seen each other puke and get in stupid fights and cry about stupid stuff and hate each other's stupid stuff. Is it impossible to have respect for people you grew up with? But on another level, on a deeper level, it is. I don't necessarily. I've never really felt respected by my family, or that they really care what I have to say. So uh, that's the individual, completely atomized John, and some of my wounds from family. That's probably the bigger one, and an overall. Mom drilled this one. I was grateful. We were on a trip, the four of us, you, mom, me, and Lindsay, last year, and we were talking about what we even want out of life. Like, what do you want? And I'd said, my highest want, I think, is just peace. I want to be at peace all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I don't know what that's about. And mom said, I could tell you what it's about. Going from just a crazy, loud, chaotic home with a lot of change, a lot of moving. So those are some of the things that come to mind.
Okay, so I'm going to help you here because I think you might be cautious at being too hard on your family. I definitely can see, you're the youngest, so there's the baby of the family. There are some common experiences that the youngest have in common.
Hmm.
And so, one of those is nobody hears you because they're all older and louder.
Hmm.
Sometimes they might not invite you to the party because you're the young kid and they want to be with their teenage friends. So I think that some of that's normal. Our kids do all have strong opinions. They're very loud. Um, Peace would not be an adjective you would probably use for um, certainly their adolescent life, yeah, all
Sure.
in one space.
Yeah, sure.
Moving a lot, having to move into new schools, meet new people,
Hmm.
leave places. Leaving is hard for you. Yeah, I see all
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah. Your turn.
Uh, well, um, my dad dropped out of school in the ninth grade and was very smart, so he did okay. He worked hard. He was a habitual adulterer, so a lot of conflict in the marriage between him and my mom. And their conflict was loud, throwing things, smashing things. Um, my mom um, was 11 years old when she saw her father shot to death, and her mother was shot but survived. So she had a lot of trauma. Only 4 years after that, married my dad at 15. She was 15, he was 16. They start popping out kids. So she has a kid at 16, 17, 19, and 21. So
True.
lot of dysfunction in the family tree on both sides. And so my parents were not well equipped for parenting, and my dad was not well equipped for marriage. Um, I am the middle birth order stuff is not insignificant. Middle
Hmm.
kids feel invisible. So I certainly felt invisible in my family of origin. Um, yeah. So I think those would be the big ones. Other people experience molestation from a relative or violence in their home. That there's a wide range here. Um, my earliest memory in life is an uncle attempting to molest me at my grandmother's house in the backseat of my mom's car. I thought we were playing a game. And my mom, my memory starts, the door flies open. She grabs him by the hair and yanks him out of the car. He's like 18 at the time. And so that's when I first realized, oh, this is a bad thing that's about to happen. I didn't know that. So yeah, but I would summarize all of that to say, uh, dysfunctional relationships, no ability to manage conflict, but
Hmm.
also intense love. If you ever listen to Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights, and I would rather you listen to it than read it. It's bizarre. And
Because he
Matthew
narrates
McConaughey,
it, you
he
said.
narrates it, and he grew up in a home very much like mine. So uh, that's how it's. I don't know if I'm answering the question very well, John, but that's how
Well,
I would describe it.
you're maybe you have some walls up. You're describing biographically, and maybe also because you wrote a book. The title you teased earlier, but you refused to fully market yourself. You
Yeah,
wrote a tremendous book about your life called "It's No Wonder the Way." It's no wonder I'm the way I am
yeah.
by Jim Ladd. It's very good. You guys should read that before you read Green Lights. And it's the lessons you learned from your growing up. So you didn't say the baggage you had. You described the challenges of
Oh,
your
okay,
home.
that's a good point. So what is your baggage then? So your baggage
I
is you feel no one wants to hear your opinion. You want to have peace more than all things because you haven't had it. Is that your baggage?
Yeah, yeah, basically it.
Okay. My baggage is I feel I used to have anxiety. I didn't know that's what it was. Every day at 5 p.m. because mom was going to come home from work and the chores that she had given us to do would not be performed up to standard no matter how perfectly we thought we did it,
Mm,
and there would be hell to pay. So my mom was a screamer, a yeller, a profanity user, um, calling you names when you don't hit standards. So I uh, I I struggle when I'm criticized.
mm,
I try to outperform everyone's expectations so that I don't have criticism.
hmm.
Um, I feel like I have to earn all the approval I get, that I have no value if I don't produce. I would say those. That's a great
Yeah.
point, John, that I was giving biography, not baggage. So, yeah, that's what I would call my baggage.
No, that's great. And
Yeah, that's great. You try it
yeah,
on.
that's well, there's a reason I didn't want to follow your story. I think it's my own first. And at least one of my really, really kind, sweet siblings listens to this show semi-regularly. So I've also we don't want to get too crazy.
Well, and here's the thing I think it's important to say, because this took me a while to figure this out. Even in writing my book, I did not want to be unkind to my mother.
Hmm.
And so, one of the struggles I had was I'm a believer, and I feel like one of the commandments, honor your mother and father,
Yeah.
so that it may go well with you. It's the first commandment with a blessing. So I struggled with, how do I honor parents and tell the truth about the baggage I carry because of them,
Hmm.
and can you do both? So it took me a long time to be able to, I think, do both. So sometimes I speak freely about the dysfunction of my family of origin without the honor part. But in my
Yeah.
heart, I highly honor them. I'm super grateful for them. But even if your parents were not dysfunctional, good parents still mess up. So it's important to be able to say, these are the baggages I carry from my family of origin while I honor my family of origin.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's no when you can frame it like that, and some people's parents will not allow you to frame it that way. That kind of fear of criticism
Yeah.
is pretty potent for a lot of parents, where any kind of um, seeking reconciliation that includes kind of listing out the bill,
Yeah.
where it reads, "Oh, so I was the worst mother in the world," that kind of thing.
Right. Right.
Luckily, I've never heard my mom doesn't react quite like that, but so that understanding that it's not a condemnation of the person, but we are fans of the truth. We are in love with the truth. And the truth is that there's this baggage from every home. And both of us seem to have been blessed to not have experienced true evil in the home, which is unfortunately at least not exceptional experience. It's not it's I was about to say common. I don't know how common it is, but
Yeah.
it's not abnormal.
Well, and there's a lot of talk about abuse, and that's an
Mhm.
interesting word, because when you grow up in a home like mine, I would never have said my parents were abusive.
Mm,
However, I had one friend of my dad's who knew him since high school, and he watched my parents raise me, and he does describe it as abusive, particularly from my mother. Um, so,
interesting.
so what's interesting is when I do premarital counseling with couples, we talk about any abuse in their background, And so there is psychological abuse, there's emotional abuse, there's physical beatings. Uh, so I think it's important when we're processing the baggage we carry from our families of origin, because we all have some, is to be able to tell the truth, even if it's just to ourselves, about, hey, that wasn't okay. I remember I was
Yeah. Yeah.
going ice fishing with this guy in Montana. He's older than me, and he was taking me ice fishing. And we end up having to get back to the truck through a blizzard. We hop in the truck covered in snow. He fires up the truck. We start to drive, and I reached over, and there's moisture in the window, and I did a little touch the moisture.
Sure. Yeah.
And he said, you know, when I was a boy, I was in the truck with my dad. He was driving, and I made my initials in that. He whipped the truck over. He he whipped me uh, with his belt. Then when we
Man.
got home, he made me clean the inside of the truck entirely. And he's telling this story without affect. I mean, there's no emotion here. It's just like that's what happened. That his
Yeah.
dad beat him for touching the glass. And I said, hey, you know that's not okay, right?
Hmm.
And he said, what? I said, well, you know that's not okay. He said, well, I never touched the window again. And I don't think he
He's,
had allowed himself to believe that what was done to him was not right.
yeah,
So
man.
it's why it's important, because we all do have biases and reactions to things that we might not know exactly where they come from. And
Yeah.
so this is a worthy conversation to have, is for you to explore your own baggage.
Yeah. Well, I think it's you're of two kinds. There are two kinds of people in the world, you could say, minimizers
Mm.
and what would the other opposite be?
Exaggerators.
Exaggerators. So I am a historical minimizer. And to my fellow minimizers, we would just say that no one reaches adulthood pure, and that for you to acknowledge your baggage is only aligning more with the truth. It's not complaining.
Yeah.
It's not pitying, self-pitying. It's just true, and it's helpful for your own life.
Calling a spade lets you know how to play that hand. If you call the
Mm.
spade a heart, you're going to misplay your hand.
I always thought that referred to the garden tool. Does it refer
It
to the
might
suit?
have. I don't know what it refers to. It just popped in my head. I've always heard call a spade a spade. Why
Yeah.
would you call a garden tool a garden tool? I don't understand that.
You call a spade a shovel? I don't know.
Anyway,
Call a shovel a spade?
think about the suits of cards in this example. And if you don't call it what it is, you'll misplay it. So
Yeah,
let's get some action items here, John.
for sure. Okay, so we've talked a lot about forgiveness lately, but it'll never hurt to talk about it again. Action item for this quarter would be to name who you need to forgive, who you need to encourage, and who you need to withdraw from in your life.
From your family of origin.
Yeah.
Second, list the ways, list the baggage you carry. We didn't have this in the action items. A reminder, we give you a lot of action item ideas, not so you'll do them all, but so that we can seedbed your imagination. And maybe you'll even think of an action item that we don't even mention, but we want you to do something.
Hmm.
So list the ways that you added to the family baggage. You might have been one of the ones who created problems, that created conflict. So identify that. Every family, this is interesting, every family has the family member nobody wants to upset because the juice isn't worth the squeeze.
Hmm.
And so one of my favorite memes is Kermit the Frog, and he says, tomorrow is slap your obnoxious coworker day. And if you don't know who you would slap, you should call in sick.
Yeah.
So if you don't know who the obnoxious family member was in your family, it was probably you. So think about that. In what ways did you make your family harder, and forgive yourself? And if
Hmm.
appropriate, ask forgiveness from family members.
That's great. All right, into quarter two. Does genes plus home environment equal fate? Uh, this is really interesting. It's kind of and this is probably actually older than I'm aware of, but recently Sam Harris, a famous atheist writer and thinker,
Mm.
has talked a lot about how I think he wrote a book on it, does not believe in free will. He is a determinist. And it bleeds into his, thoughts on ethics. He thinks in a perfect world he wouldn't have prison because no one's really accountable for their actions, really. It's all
Wow.
just.
So what do you do with people who murder people?
Well, he says for now, we put them in jail because they can't keep murdering people. We're not, we can't allow that. But it's not really their fault in a ultimate sense because of their brain chemistry and their origin. And he thinks every choice you've ever made is he's a determinist. It's determined by just reality. It's just the way it is.
So he doesn't feel like he has free will at all either.
No.
So he was destined to become a determinist and destined to become an atheist.
Hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
So this is I respect I feel like if you were to poll certain worldviews to their conclusion, a lot of people stop short of that for the sake of inner peace or for the sake of not wanting to say that murderers shouldn't be in prison. They
Yeah.
stop short of the ultimate conclusion of some of their ideas. I
Right.
respect him to say that if you're going into a naturalistic, stone cold worldview, that's not a bad way to put it. Do animals have free will? I mean, they could chase the fox instead of the rabbit, but not really.
Huh.
So think about this in the home environment. You come from with a certain set of genes, with a certain set of proclivities from birth, and then you're born into an environment. And before you have any sense of selfhood, before you have any sense of decision making or higher executive function,
Yeah.
you're already basically who you're going to be.
You are full baked
Yeah,
and you don't even know why you feel the way you do around people of authority or why you respond to conflict the way you do. You don't
yeah.
understand how you got there, but there was an equation. It was formed.
So this looks a lot like fate. You see, you could be reading or hearing about a prisoner and the story of their life, and it comes from houses, honestly, maybe a lot like yours, except without when both parents, maybe they split or there's a lot of men in the household, mom kind of revolving door situation. They end up in prison, and you can kind of see the trajectory. It's not surprising. And then most prisoners, they don't reform and they continue going. And there's this kind of
Mm.
really dark destiny trajectory. And we believe that when grace enters a situation, the grace of God, when God enters a story, it's for me, it's how I kind of imagine the chains being broken off. It's almost the chains of destinies, the chains of what your life was bound to be before you met God. What do you think about all this? I've been talking a
Well,
lot.
I think that we should stare into the darkness of determinism before we offer the alternative because it is
Sure.
overwhelming. The evidence is overwhelming. So the way I would say that equation is, does nature plus nurture equal fate? And
Mm,
so my nature, by my gene pool, my physiological makeup, my chemistry, uh, plus the way I was raised and the environment I was raised in, that equals my fate. That's pretty convincing.
mhm.
Um, there was a I can't remember if it was a book or if it was a set of video lectures years ago. It was called "Who You Are Is Where You Were When."
Oh.
And so it had this kind of bent to it that who you are is the direct result of where you were when you hit puberty, when you got educated, when you formed your religious beliefs,
And where you were geographically
where
or
you were both geographically and relationally, what environment you were in.
Hmm,
So this is why you have global cultural differences, is because nature plus nurture in that environment creates a certain kind of uh, outcome.
sure.
And so there are, and this is why psychologists, when you go to see a counselor or a therapist, they want to know more about your family of origin because family systems produce predictable outcomes. And there are dots to connect to help you see this is why you feel this way.
Hmm.
So I can certainly see where that idea comes from. What it doesn't allow for is any sense of autonomy that breaks out of the cycle. So it is saying that you're so determined that there's no option for you. You're going to be this thing. And so, I wonder about a home that's a faith home and there's four kids and two turn out to be passionate Christians and two turn out to be atheists. How do you explain that with this
Yeah.
formula?
You could probably explain it with the change of environment through the years. So unless they were quadruplets, um, you could say that the parents actually changed over the course of the four kids.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's a great question. Yeah, could be
Yeah,
different experiences each one had in the church, kind of at random.
these older siblings of yours who don't care what your opinions are and don't listen to you have said to me, you raised those last two totally different than you raised the first three. To which I reply, and thank God I did. Just because I was an idiot with you, should I remain ignorant for everyone just to be fair? Like,
Mm,
this is the thing I was talking about. Children have children, and then the parents grow up. And, I told your oldest, uh, I was 22 when you were born, and I was 30 when John was born. So, or 31, whatever, 32,
32. Yeah, yeah.
32. So surely a 32-year-old makes a better parent than a 22-year-old. And I shouldn't have to tie half my parenting arm behind my back just so it's fair because you were raised by a moron.
Yeah.
So that's part of the whole package too. Each kid has a different parent set of parents than the kids in front of them and behind them.
Yeah. Well, and some of this you go out on faith and you say, we believe in ultimate responsibility,
Yeah.
ultimate as in eternal, that
Right.
everyone is responsible eternally for their own choices. And in that profession, there is also the profession in free will. You can't hold everyone accountable for their choices if they don't have free will. Again, that's true in Sam Harris's worldview. That's consistent.
Yeah.
So now do we have permission to get onto the good news now?
Yeah, and I'm curious. You worded this in our notes. Grace saves us from this deterministic hell.
Yeah.
There not also a deterministic heaven? You were raised in a beautiful place with healthy people, and there's a beautiful determination.
In a
Why
way, but
why
you're
do you call
still
it a deterministic hell?
because you put an infant in a cannon and you shoot them on a path and they grow up on the path and die on the path without any say.
Hmm.
Even if they land in paradise, that's still hell. God didn't design robots for that reason,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
that's not aligned with the truth. There's no choice. You have to choose.
yeah. And
Um,
if I have no choice, why does God Himself hold me accountable for my outcomes?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So you do, and we believe that when grace enters your life through the forgiveness of Christ or the forgiveness of God, you are suddenly the options for change are now available to you.
It's like you
The
were in Plato's
the
cave. You were chained to a wall in Plato's cave. You broke the chains, you climbed out, and you realized I've been looking at shadows this whole time, and
yeah.
now I see the world for what it actually is. Boom, lights came on. Now I have more information, more grasp on reality, and therefore more autonomy to contribute to the outcomes of that.
Yeah, it's a very ontological change. The Catholics believe, maybe the Orthodox too, but a lot of churches believe that when you're baptized, the stain of original sin is removed from you. And
Mm,
that's when you now have the ability to choose what to do. That before, I don't know what they'd say about accountability if you couldn't really choose before, if people die in that state.
mm.
But this is a cell deep change in your being. Um, I want to our action item. I want to conclude with us kind of answering it, if you don't mind, kind of a break in the structure. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I don't know
The
what
action
you're
item.
saying, but
Well, the action item for this quarter is to describe your to yourself how your life would be if you never received grace,
mm,
and if you haven't received grace yet, imagine what it would look like if you did.
yeah.
So I want to ask you that. What do you think? You imagine Jimmy Ladd, used car salesman in the year 2026. Your dad never got saved, and your family never met Jesus. This beautiful story. What is that? How different is that for you? Does it look deterministic? Is my question to you.
Well, yeah, I think I might have committed suicide by now.
Oof.
Uh, I think that I certainly wouldn't would be I certainly would not be a successful married person. I would have been a horrible, to be more accurate, a more horrible parent than I was. Yeah, I think there's no it's day and night difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you? What would
I
you be if you had not found faith?
yeah,
What
I'd
would you
be
be?
I'd be much more selfish than I already am. I discover more every day to my horror how selfish I actually
Hmm.
am.
Hmm.
It's one of the hardest things about my current reality is just finding that root goes real deep.
Yeah.
So it'd be even worse, and it'd be worse because I wouldn't be aware of it. So I'd be the exact same selfishness, but I'd be blind to it. So I'd be more entitled, maybe. It's hard to say because my conversion was a lot younger than yours. Um, and my environment was a lot different than yours.
Hmm.
Coming from a Christian home, quote unquote. There's no need to put quotes around. It's a Christian home, as opposed to the one you grew up in. It's hard to say. It's less dramatic.
Yeah.
But in ways like that, I think
Yeah.
I'd be unmoored. I don't think I would have killed myself because I don't have those kinds of depressive tendencies. But I would be
Yeah.
very unmoored. I'd be very much more anxious, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So, reconcile this, John. I have a saying that I use a lot. Not a lot. I don't use it as much anymore because I think it's too pessimistic. But my saying is people change, but not very much.
hmm
Why is that?
I think when people are only ever redeemed. So the ultimate version of someone is just the truer version of them. So right when Saul became Paul, he only became a truer version of who he always was, a zealot, a passionate workhorse, doer, a racer, a fighter.
Yeah,
That's who he always was.
a
Yeah.
pioneer, and I want to build on my own ground, not somebody else's.
Yeah.
That personality remained the same.
So there was, it's not like did he change? Well, of course he changed, but he only became more of who he
Hmm.
really is.
Now
So that's what I think.
this feels sad. If you really like yourself, that's pretty good news. Hey, I'm just going to become the best version of myself. But if you don't like yourself, I mean, if you don't like how neurotically self analyzing you are,
Yeah.
if you don't like how, uh, your intellectual prowess or lack thereof, whatever, if you don't like you, this is rough news because,
No, well, it's rough news if you don't understand who you are. Those are things about you. You are not neurotic. You are a person who has neurotic behavior. You are not stupid. You are a person who had a harder time with school or maybe even has learning disorders.
right.
Those are shame answers. So it's bad news to you if you have shame. Really, it appears to be bad news if you have shame. The
Yeah.
truth is, those aren't actually who you are. And so maybe even in this example, it would look like tremendous change. It would look like huge change,
Yeah.
but only because you realize those aren't who you are
Yeah.
and you became more of who you really are.
I
So
love
these great
that.
strengths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. Action item. Describe to yourself how your life would be if you never received grace. And if you haven't received grace, imagine what your life could be now if you received the awareness that God loves you and that his grace is sufficient for everything you face. Imagine what that could do for you if you believe that.
Yeah. I love
All
it.
right. Now, halftime, John. We usually recommend books. Then for a stretch, we recommended movies. And today we're going to do both and. You're going to do a book. I'm going to do movies
hmm
because I have a lot of movies that I think are valuable contributors to the conversation we're having today. But you
Yeah.
go first with your book.
Uh, I thought we'd come back to books, but it's all right. This is a good blend. It was all movies. Now it'll be half and half.
If you can't tell, I'm letting John down because he thought we were back on books.
It's all right. This book, again, I love recommending books like this because read anything, almost anything. Seriously, it's good
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah, it
I'm
is.
recommending Doctor Sleep by Stephen King. I don't have the book today because I read it on Kindle. So I'll just hold up my Kindle. There you go.
Yeah.
It is the sequel to The Shining, written
Oh,
decades later. The Shining was written in the 70s or 80s. Doctor Sleep was written in like the 2014, something like that.
where does it pick
It's
up in the story?
It picks up as if that much time has passed. It picks up with Danny, Jack's son Danny, who,
Oh,
spoilers for
okay.
The Shining, has survived The Shining,
Wow.
and he has this. The first 100 pages are about his alcoholism and his life
Mm.
with his PTSD, and he still has the shine. He's still a psychic, and he becomes Doctor Sleep. He goes to AA. He gets sober,
Mhm.
and he lives in and works in a hospice center. And there's this little cat that knows when people are going to die in the hospice center. It goes and sits with them right before they're going to die.
Wow.
And Danny goes in there and psychically communes with them and leads them into the great beyond peacefully.
Hmm.
This is his job. They call him Dr. Sleep because if Danny, he's like, I think he's even just
If
he's
you
like
see him walking into your room, you know it's over.
yeah, he
Him and the
is like,
cat,
he's a cleaner, I think even. He's not a doctor.
oh,
He's like a, what is
a
it?
custodian.
Custodian.
Yeah.
So I love the premise already, but he finds this girl, this young girl, and at this time he's 40 something, never had a family, and she has the shine, something
Mm.
crazy. And there's this band of psychic vampires that are after this girl. And so Danny and her team up to take these people down. It's a great story, but about this conversation specifically, it's a great example of seeing the roots in The Shining. I would recommend reading The Shining first. I've already talked about that one. And then read Doctor Sleep. And Stephen King, who wrote The Shining as an alcoholic and wrote Doctor Sleep as a sober,
Oh, wow.
50-year-old, 60-year-old,
Right, right.
he pulls out a lot of those threads, and it's really, really cool. It's a great book.
There you go. All right, my movie. We're going to pick up the pace here, John. We're running out of time. Good Will Hunting. I've recommended this movie before, but it's
Yeah.
especially pertinent to the conversation today about family baggage. He has piles of it, and it from an evil home, from a lot of abuse, and
Hmm.
it's his story of finding that that it's not his fault, and his happiness is an acceptable reality. Another one is The Family Stone. I'm giving three movies because I love all three of these.
Good.
The,
Nine.
the Family Stone, great movie. It's a Christmas holiday of this family with a bunch of variety of people in the family. Great one. And then the third one is Dan in Real Life, which is Michael from The Office. I think it might have been his first serious movie role. And it is
Good question.
phenomenal. A, I think he's a widower with two teenagers, and it's a family reunion kind of gathering there. And so you're seeing him process into a future, his kids, really, really good stuff.
That's awesome.
There you
All
go. All
right.
right.
We'll
Quarter
pick
three,
it
John.
up. Quarter three, being your own man. This was very interesting. I'll be candid, speak candidly on this most recent trip, going back into my the realm of my childhood, not my childhood home because we moved around too much for that.
Yeah.
But going there and realizing that I had made a place for myself. I felt like Superman coming from Earth with the yellow sun, superpowered, going back to Krypton and
Yeah.
the red sun, and I felt weak. And I
Mm,
felt this was not my life now. I have made a life for myself, and I have people who do care what I have to say, and I care what they have to say. And I when I came back
mm.
here, it was like seeing all this for the first time. I was like, oh, my backyard, my dog, who I did miss. You asked if I was gonna miss my dog. My truck. Those are all shallow
Sure.
concerns.
Sure.
But here's the truth of that. You are not your father. You're not your family. You are your own person. And the proclivities you get from your genes or from your environment, your nature, your nurture, those are real, but you are not a carbon copy, or else we'd all look exactly like Adam and Eve right now. It's you are your own person, and you have the tremendous opportunity and responsibility to build your own life.
Well, that started off sad, John. It's sad to me that coming together was the red sun, kryptonite, whatever that was. I don't understand all that metaphor, but uh,
Sorry.
uh, I get that. That's what mine going home to my family of origin was for a long time. It's not anymore, but it was for a long time. It's interesting because I also had the observation that all of these people have their own lives.
Mm,
That none of us are a unit anymore. There are a bunch of adult individuals, and the grandkids are their own separate thing.
mm.
And it felt very much that way, which is a little sad to me and a little uh, liberating for me, actually, as the dad, to
Oh,
feel
sure.
like, I don't have to take care of these people anymore.
Yeah, sure.
Uh, I'm not responsible for the life they have either built or haven't built. And so I love that. Now, the point of this conversation is that you do have the opportunity, the liberty, physically and spiritually, to rise above your origins.
Hmm.
And for some, this will definitely be harder than for others. but the freedom and the opportunity exists for all. Now, why can you say, John, with certainty that uh, all humans have the capacity, the opportunity, the freedom to become something other than their origins?
I would say, unfortunately, that's not true for all
Oh,
humans.
okay.
Talking to Americans, it is true for most Americans physically. It is true for all humans spiritually. As we said, when with
And would you
the
say emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, that's all a bucket?
sure, yeah.
And that
So
bucket exists for everybody.
for everybody, but not everybody, because there's a lot of pain in the uprootedness of America. There's a lot of pitfalls and a lot of hurt. And the specific silver lining there is that most of us have the physical opportunity to create a different life, which is not the case for every country on earth.
Sure, sure.
But yes, psychologically and spiritually, that opportunity is available to everybody, I believe.
And what do you think are the key building blocks of escaping your origins?
I would call that growing up. So I call that uh, forgiveness, taking up responsibility for your own future, regardless of how you were raised. These are things that, you're bound to your family always by history and by
Yeah,
blood.
yeah.
But if you have these wounds that you refuse to treat or to forgive, and if you are one of those maybe exaggerators, not to undermine your own pain,
Mhm.
but you say, man, I would have this life if my family wasn't so crappy. I would have this life if this didn't happen to me. You're still thinking like a child who is bound. And
Mhm.
there's the opportunity here for you to grow up by forgiving and severing in a
Mhm.
way. Again, you can sever good bonds too, unfortunately, but you can sever the bad bonds
Mhm.
and take responsibility for your own future. And that's the kind of liberty that's available to you, I think. And that's I call that growing up truly.
So I'm not responsible for what happened to me. I'm not responsible for the people that I was raised around and nurtured with.
Yeah.
I am responsible for what I choose to do next. And I do have to, and so I need to take responsibility for the liberty that does exist, that
Yeah.
options remain. Um, uh, Man's Search for Meaning, I think that's the book,
Yeah, Viktor Frankl.
Viktor Frankl. These were a lot of his theories. And when he went into a concentration camp, this is a kind of a different deal, but he's forced into a world where all of his autonomy is taken from him, all of his dignity is taken from him, all of his humanity is taken from him. But his theory was you can't take away my freedom to choose. I get to choose all by myself what I'm going to think, what I'm going to believe, how I'm going to respond. And that's kind of what we're talking about in the most crude element. But
Yeah.
you have that opportunity. Now, what are some things that can help you do that?
Uh, well, I think you need community. So really you need people to, I'm going to refer to past episodes to kind of zip file some of these thoughts in.
Yeah, yeah,
If you want to know
yeah.
more about this, go to these past episodes about community and blind spots. We talked about the Johari window, I believe, last episode. And you need people to tell you your blind spots.
Mhm.
There's this level of blindness I think we all have to what our environment actually was. You told that man when the ice fishing episode you had,
Yeah,
you were able to tell that man a blind spot that his dad had actually had been abusive in that moment, that he didn't
yeah,
know that
yeah.
that wasn't okay. A very powerful, Goodwill Hunting scene. So there's that. I think one of the great opportunities to us is the family of believers.
Hmm.
That say you have no brothers and sisters, or you only have, ones that were truly terrible to you, and those relationships are not salvageable. You have available to you brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers in a truer sense. Again, we believe that
Yeah,
the spiritual things are truer than the physical things. So these are
right.
shadows of the real, and in a real sense, you have people that are more united to you. So, I feel like no insult at all to my blood relatives, but I have that also. I have spiritual brothers and sisters in a very real sense,
Yeah,
not in a flowery sense, a very real
yeah.
sense,
That's
and it,
awesome.
it provides a lot of healing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Somebody said you most of your pain in life will come through relationships, and most of your healing will as well. So
Yeah,
that's a good deal. I would add that you have access to a holy God who's made himself available to you. And so
Yeah.
the divine, to participate in the nature of Christ, to have the abiding comfort of God, to have the Holy Spirit in you and around you and with you is huge. And so that's a big deal. I would also argue that the greatest psychological textbook in the world is the Bible. It helps us see how we're made, how we're formed, how we're reformed. It's genius. And so I would argue that that's a great tool as well. We also have
Yeah.
a world of more mental health resources than ever and more support than ever. So I think it's a great time to assess the opportunities in front of you to become more than and other than your origin story would predict.
Yeah. I love it. All right. Our one action item for this quarter is to describe the kind of man you always wanted to be and the life you always wanted to have. How different is that from who you are now? And do you have the freedom to change it? Do you consider yourself to have the freedom to change that? And why or why not?
Great. All right, now we're going to talk about quarter four is your legacy because if I said some names to you, things would come to your mind. If I said, if you're old enough, I said uh, Richard Dobbins, Dick Dobbins,
Mm.
you would say focus on the family,
Oh,
uh,
sure.
right? That guy cared about family. If I said Freud, you would say psychology. So, we all have the freedom to decide what people think about when they hear our name, uh, especially at the end of your life. Like
Yeah.
you have the ability to do that. It'll be hard, but you get to decide. And so, John, walk me through where you want to go with this whole conversation on legacy.
Well, this is just the full circle of the conversation is that you come from a situation where others decided for you how how you were going to be raised. And maybe things happen to you outside of their control too. But full circle is you eventually will decide for others their environment. And even if you were a lifelong celibate man or single person, you might decide things like this in your leadership at work or in your mentorship capacities.
Mhm.
But we think everybody should at some point have a mentoring role over others. It's a beneficial thing. So in some way, every person will have this responsibility and opportunity in their lives. So, and again, that if you can find it in your heart to give grace to your parents, you're going to need that for yourself when you enter these environments and you screw up and you don't reach an ideal that you had for yourself. It calls to mind, you have this great line about culture. What define culture for us?
Culture is created every time you do something with something that already exists. So when you do something with money, you are creating culture. When you do something with betrayal, if you get revenge when you're betrayed, you're creating a culture that says when a person is betrayed, what they should do is go get revenge.
Hmm.
And when you forgive or when you self restrain, when you get help instead of bitterness, when you choose faith instead of hate, love instead of hate, you're creating culture because you're saying this is how the world ought to be. Very few of
Hmm.
us operate in the moment thinking that way.
Yeah.
That, when you're yelling at the driver who cut you off and giving them the we're number one sign, you're probably not thinking, I'm creating culture right now in this moment, but you are. You're communicating to everyone in the car with you and to the people on the road with you. This is how people ought to react when they experience road rage.
Yeah.
So you are culture creators, and I believe this to my bones, John, and I wish that I wish it had informed more of my parenting. But the greatest single thing you can do for the good of the world is create a culture where your children grow up with a different legacy than you had. It's the greatest thing you could do for the world, for
Yeah.
them to be fully functioning, emotionally healthy adults who know how to navigate conflict, who know how to forgive, who know how to love, who know how to make it through hard things. You have the opportunity to create, uh, is progeny the right word? Progeny?
Sure. Yeah.
I don't even know what that word means, but
It means
that's,
your kids, your
yeah,
descendants.
yeah. Uh, in fact, it probably will be your greatest contribution on earth.
Yeah, and that's how, progress would actually be made. I had heard a guy recently talking about um, when Christianity entered the world, this thought of the option of progress, of human progress,
Hmm.
was almost a novel idea. There wasn't really a lot of thought like that. That kind of Solomon Ecclesiastes idea
Yeah.
of it's all the same. There's now a new thing, and we can progress. So creating culture is, is part of this. Talking about growing up again, the shift from viewing yourself as being bound to your family pain as opposed to being responsible for others. That's another huge part of growing up.
Hmm.
I can still sleep in because I don't have a kid. I was wondering, when am I going to become a morning person? I realized people only become morning persons when they have kids because they
Yeah.
have to be.
Right.
So there's certain things that only happen when you take responsibility for others and for creating these environments for others. And if you've done this kind of shifting in yourself, this inner formation, people might say, you might say, when this happens, I'll act this way. But for now, I'm not really going to act that way. I'm
Mm.
going to keep repeating the wounds that I suffered. But I swear, when I have kids or when I'm married, I'm going to treat my wife different than my dad did. But I'm not going to act like that right now. That's not how that works.
Right. I'll stop looking at porn when I'm married and have a woman to be with all the time. No, you
Yeah.
won't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing, this is a little bit of a pivot, John, but when you can accept the fact that your family of origin created baggage for you, ways you see the world, obstacles you have to overcome, impulses that are not dialed in correctly, a sense of self that is warped in some ways, that's a good thing. And you can honor your family while you do it, and you can get in there and get creative once you understand reality. Another part of that, though, is also recognizing and being able to say honestly, sincerely, and without shame, I make mistakes too.
Hmm.
So not only am I overcoming the baggage of my family of origin, I'm also a baggage creator. And
Yeah.
you have to be able to confess that, or else you'll blame everyone else for what goes on and take no responsibility for what goes on around you. And
Absolutely.
so I think those are both on the. If Lady Justice has the scales, I
Hmm.
think awareness of the chaos around you, the culture creating around you that hurts you, but also aware of the parts of you that create culture that hurts others uh, and creates that environment that's not best. I think both of those are hugely important skills, and both can be immensely painful.
Mm. And why?
Well, there are times, and I think that God only lets me see the worst of myself rarely, because
Mm.
when it happens, I despair of life itself. You said you're in a season where you're becoming more and more aware of just how selfish you are, and it's almost more than you can bear. That's what
Hmm.
I'm talking about. And I've met people when I have that conversation with them, they go, I've never had that happen to me. you
Yeah.
know and I
There,
think I
yeah.
think it's a necessary part of development is to see the darkest, brokenest root inside you. But man, you can't live there, you can't stare at that, you can't become that. That's not who you are. It's a part of your development. But sometimes it's so painful to stare at that. And then it can, if you stare, you will start to think, I can never break out of this.
Yeah.
But if you never see it, then you're walking around blindly hurting others and creating culture that you're not even aware you're creating.
Yeah. I think that's a perfect summary of the whole conversation, I think. Is you have to be honest about your roots, and you have to be aware of the opportunities facing you for healing and for changing the world for those who depend on you. I think it's
Yeah.
everything.
Now I will finish my thought here with there's a diagram of you're in a circle of comfort, and you have a dot out here that is the future of opportunity. And in
Mm.
between your circle of comfort and this window of opportunity is a big glob of pain.
Hmm.
And so, what this is, counselors will say a person will leave their comfort zone in pursuit of a greater future, a greater thing, but they hit the pain wall because it means they're staring at their brokenness, they're staring at the dysfunction, whatever. And so they turn around and go back into the comfort. because it's
Hmm.
just too hard. Couples do this, relationships do this. Man, we could be a better thing together, but to get there, we're going to have to walk some painful roads and have some really difficult conversations. So they avoid them because pain avoidance is what's natural to us. So part of this is saying, bring on the pain. I'm willing to go through the pain because on the other side of my pain is an incredible future where I break out of the legacy of the family before me and I make a legacy for the family after me that has much greater potential. So bring on the pain.
Yeah, man, that's beautiful. I love that.
All
All
right,
right. Action
go ahead.
item for this last quarter would be to make two lists. First, list the properties of the household you grew up in, good and bad. And second, list the properties of the household you would want to raise a child in. And forgive the first list and pray over the second list.
I love that. I love that. All right. Hey, our book is coming out very soon. That's one thing. Watch for this. It's a great book. I have to say, this is a great book. Number two, Town Hall, last Thursday of July. Come and join us, 8 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Pacific.
Hmm.
Get online with us. You'll get a link in the a Zoom link in your email. So be a part of that. Coming up this fall is a cohort for parents and grandparents and people who want to be mentors. It's going to be incredible. So watch for the details of that coming up. Man, there's a lot going on, and God is opening up opportunities for the honest path to have greater and greater influence. We're grateful for that. We love your support, and we'd love to serve you any way we can. And we're just grateful. So dig deeper. We need each other.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. We'll talk to you next week.
All right.